Welcome to episode 3 of the spill on Women's Health Plus. Today, we will be talking about PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, with a sister who has gone through it all. And this is definitely going to be a show that you do not want to miss. So stay tuned, episode 3, The Spill, Women's Health Plus. Good to have you with me on The Spill. And as a fellow sister, I am so excited about our conversation today about PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about how it has affected you and how you have dealt with some of the impacts of PCOS. So the first thing I wanted to know was, how did you find out you had PCOS?
Okay, well, from a very young age, I had a lot of period pains. I got my period when I was 9.
No.
And one day in college, I was about 18 years old, I felt sick and it was just a lot of abdominal pain. And my general practitioner couldn't find what was wrong. She did my scan, she did an ultrasound for me. And she said to me, "How old are you?" And I said to her, "I'm 18, getting 19 next month." And she said to me, "Well, you better think of having children now, otherwise you'll never be able to have children anymore."
So apart from you mentioned you had period issues, painful periods. Was that the only issue that you had that you felt was strange about your reproductive health or about your menstrual cycle? Did you get irregular periods?
No. My periods only started being regular after I visited a doctor in Barbados who put me on raspberry pills.
Oh.
And that I was 20 at that time.
Okay.
But from 9 to 20, my period would come sometimes every 3 months.
Okay.
And when it came for 3 weeks, I'd be bleeding heavy. There were years when I saw my period twice a year, and for 6 months, no period. And when it came, I would bleed for 4 or 5 weeks.
Wow.
And the doctor had tried me on Yaz and Jasmine. And at that time, there was this thing about they not being good and whatever.
Blood clots.
Right.
Yes.
So when I started taking it, I started gaining weight. I was already big for my height. I started gaining more weight. And I said to them, "You know what? I'd rather not have periods than be getting fat." So I weaned myself off of it until the raspberry pills.
Okay, so you were put on birth control pretty early.
Yes.
And when it came up to it, the decision between staying on that birth control pill and the weight gain, you chose to get off.
It was a very easy decision because it was either take the birth control pills and get colic and still get fat, and not and not take the birth control pills. See period twice a year. I mean, at that age, at 15, it was like, okay, no colic, no weight gain.
Right.
Let pills stay where it be.
So take me back a bit to the diagnosis. So you were told you had these multiple cysts on your ovaries, and that having a child might be impossible
if I did not start now.
Right. What else were you told at that time when you were diagnosed?
The results were just given to me, and I went back to my general practitioner, and he said to me, "Well, based on the ultrasound, you have PCOS, and these are the certain symptoms that you should expect. You know, irregular periods." And at that time, I was already I'd already been on birth control pills to regulate my period. Okay. But so I may have been polycystic for a very long time and not know. It was only because of the intense pain. It was really, really bad that I had to leave chemistry class. Okay, I had to leave chemistry class to go and see the doctor. So you know it was bad.
Okay. So as time progressed, and now you have this diagnosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and what seemed to pose the most problems for you in terms of symptoms? So as you've progressed throughout having the condition, what symptoms have been problematic for you, or are there any standout symptoms that you experience that you are just over, like you just cannot deal with those symptoms?
Okay, well, I didn't understand why I had to have hair on my chin. Okay, and so it was, what's going on? Why is this happening? And then I began to understand it was a hormonal imbalance and that kind of thing. But struggling with my weight was one of the most annoying things, because my friends always say, Nadège, I admire your discipline so much, but discipline, no discipline, I still big. All right, I'm still big. And then recently, one of my greatest struggles, and it has been linked to me being polycystic, or having polycystic ovarian syndrome, is my insulin resistance. And it is a very life-altering diagnosis to hear that you're pre-diabetic at 27. And I was like, what? Pre-diabetic? What am I doing that I am pre-diabetic? I said I was 27, no, I'm 29. I'm lying about my age. So yeah, that has been my most recent and most annoying battle. Like getting it under control. And again, PCOS seems to be this constant battle of needing to lose weight to control PCOS. However, PCOS affects your weight gain. So it is finding this balance that is almost impossible to find sometimes, because there are times the weight kind of just melts off. And then you on the same routine, on the same regulation, and it's like, as though the number on the scale going up, as though the pants getting back tight. Like, what's going on?
Yes.
What's going on? And like, as women, we have so many struggles we have to fight against. I just hate that having PCOS makes me want to battle with my body. So if I have to talk about something that really gets to me, is that I have to be arguing or fighting with my own body to get to where I want it to be.
Right. And it's definitely a vicious cycle, because you so correctly mentioned weight loss will improve the symptoms of PCOS, but PCOS causes weight gain. So it's like so counterintuitive. You need to lose weight, but the syndrome that you have is allowing you or causing you to not be able to lose that weight very easily. So it is something that I know a lot of women with PCOS would definitely agree with you on, that it's a problematic symptom to manage. And the insulin resistance too. I mean, in your 20s, to start thinking about diabetes and being pre-diabetic, that's something that I guess many people at that age never even have to think about. Right? You know, so I can definitely understand how you would cite those things as being the most problematic for you. I agree for myself as well. So in your course of having the syndrome, battling with the syndrome, what are some of the things you have tried to manage the symptoms? So like the weight, for instance, I know you have this Instagram page and you're out there talking about your battle with weight loss. What are some of the things that you do? People always want to know, how do you manage PCOS symptoms for you? What has that been? So it took a
lot of research, a lot of research to find what foods help you balance your hormones.
Okay.
And I mean, we hear it all the time: stay away from bread, stay away from white starch. But it's why, you know? And it was a lot about finding, it was for me a lot of self-revelation. Okay, I'm the kind of person, don't just tell me to do something because to get that result. I want to know
why.
How it's linked, why it's linked, and will it work for me with the condition that I have. So a lot of YouTube University, a lot of the medical sites online, you know, Nutrition MD, like I'm stuck on that page because I want to know what I should and shouldn't eat. Also, what I can and cannot eat within my budget and my culture. Because a lot of the diet regimens that you can get online, they cater to the larger countries like the States and Europe, where you can go to one supermarket and get almost everything. Here is fig and dashing and lettuce. And when you're in States, you have 5 different types of lettuce. Here is either the big lettuce or the small lettuce. You know? So I did a lot of research in terms of finding out what foods are best for me to eat here. And I found out, strangely, that dashing is not really good for our condition because it is very, very, or it triggers your insulin resistance. Yeah, it spikes your glucose count up, something like that. Right? So me that planting dashing in my backyard, I was like, so I killed myself with this dashing. Right. So it was a lot of when I lost 65 pounds and I was at the top of my game. So I ran 5 miles a day and I was still doing my body training resistance. So that really, really helped. Sometimes, some days I just danced for 2 hours. Yeah, so that's what helped me the first time I lost all the weight that I did. And like it says, when you do lose that weight, when you control the weight, when you get down there, the symptoms, I was completely off the raspberry pills. From since then, my period has been regular. To the point where after I had my son, my period came bang on time like it would 3 days after giving birth.
Wow.
Right? And it has never been irregular since the weight loss.
Okay.
Since the weight loss. So I'm proof that when you lose the weight and you're able to lose the weight, it does help you manage your symptoms.
So I guess, okay, so the major symptom management method that you've tried is the weight loss and the diet modification and the exercise. And that is important to know. I know many women can attest to the fact that it does work. It does work. And congratulations on that 65-pound success. I know that is an amazing feat. And the fact that you were able to do it whilst battling PCOS is also, that's just amazing. Yeah. So I know you're trying to get back there. So I'm
gonna get back there and better.
So I wish you well along that journey. Now it's May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And some of the issues that occur because of PCOS are known to trigger mental health issues in women who suffer with the syndrome. Depression, anxiety are the 2 most common mental health issues that women tend to report with PCOS. So I want to talk to you a bit about that, of course, in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month. How has taking care of your mental health worked for you with PCOS?
It made me realize that I'm not the only person battling with mental health. And the moment, just to let it be known that I suffer with both depression and anxiety. I get really bad anxiety attacks. And it's not only what you struggle through with PCOS that cause the depression or the anxiety. The hormones actually affect chemical imbalances in your body. And like like I try to tell most people that I talk to about depression and mental health, it's like, if you have a broken leg, you are going to want to address it and help it. This is like, depression and anxiety are not just mental issues, they have physical components to it. And battling with both of them and going through them, at one point I thought I could do it on my own.
Right.
And then when you realize you dig in a pit to bury your own self, you kind of have to ask for help. So like anybody who has PCOS especially and is battling with mental issues, like get help, ask for help, talk to somebody, talk to a friend who can refer you to somebody, because my therapist is God sent. She is God sent, and you know, she motivates me even when she's off the clock. She's like, you're doing good, you know, like I'm recognizing that you're making so many changes. And sometimes the changes you need to make to secure your mental health are very small, but because you've already dug that pit, you can't even see the very slight change that you need to make. And you just need that little guiding hand to say, hey, you know you're at A, but you should actually be at B. Let me show you how to get to B. And when you're at B, you're like, oh my God, that's what I was doing at A? That kind of thing. So it's just a matter of talking to a friend, hey, this is what I'm going through today. Do you know somebody who can help me? Or if you've heard about a therapist, or if you, call your health center, because that's what I did. God knows that's what I did. When I felt like my sanity was slipping, I called the health center. And they said, we're going to send a doctor to see you now. And that doctor said, go see the therapist, who I had already known about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are an advocate, I guess, for seeking help and seeking professional help. And
yes.
that is something too that's important about what you're saying, because the professional will be able to help, because that's what they're trained to do. You know, so therapy is something that I support wholeheartedly. I have gone through therapy myself, and I feel like sometimes the stigma attached with it might prevent people from accessing it. But the professional help is so necessary. And for women with PCOS,
it is,
who are already at that lower level of having to, you know, deal with these symptoms and try to take care of their mental health. Sometimes it's just too much for you to be able to do on your own. So the therapy thing, guys, Mental Health Awareness Month, and Nadège is telling us about how helpful therapy was for her, and having that resource that you can count on is so important. It's so important.
It is.
So I hope that message
loud and clear.
Yes, to the listeners, that mental health, taking care of your mental health is very important, and professional help, if you need it, is very important. So a lot of people tell me often, when I was diagnosed with PCOS, I didn't know this, I didn't know that, nobody ever told me this, they just told me to just come back to the doctor when I'm ready to get pregnant. Is that the same thing that you experience? Are there things about PCOS that you wish, now that you're looking back at the diagnosis and the years thereafter, are there things that you wish somebody had sat down with you and explained straight off the bat?
I would have appreciated the radiologist not telling me what she told me. Because they make you feel less feminine. They made me feel less feminine. They made me hate my body for a period of time. I mean, you don't look at an 18-year-old and say to her, you will never be able to have children. Francie, that didn't want to.
That's harsh.
Yes. You will never be able to have children unless you start now. I'm like, what? Start now? And when I went to my doctor, all he said was, you have PCOS, which means you have many cysts on your female reproductive organ. And that was it. Like, no further guidance as to, hey, this is what you have, this is what you should expect, and this is how you can phase it out, or you can work it. Because I'm sure at a younger age, if I knew the steps to organize it. You know, to reconnect with my body and say, hey, fix yourself. I would have done it sooner. But in our society, thick is best. And I was thick and plump, and I didn't realize that was affecting my it was affecting my reproductive health and all of that. So it's just a matter of when women are being diagnosed. So that's when you come in now.
Right.
Yeah.
With Women's Health Plus.
Yeah.
Because
Go talk to her, please,
because there are so many things, and you're right, that women do not know when they are given that diagnosis, and then they go through years of not knowing. And if they did know, they could have changed some of their outcomes.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what Women's Health Plus is all about, really, health education and providing that information for those who do not get it and need it. So that's what we're about. That's what we're all about.
That's right.
So Nadège, one of the most important things a lot of times to people with PCOS, to women with PCOS, is the same fertility thing. The same thing that the doctor felt was necessary to tell you straight off the bat about not having children, and you better start trying now, yada yada yada. A lot of women are very troubled by that aspect. You have a son.
Yes, I do.
So you are a woman with PCOS who has amazingly been able to have a son and, you know, to have this wonderful blessing. But were you concerned about fertility after that first interaction with the doctor, and then as the years progressed and before you had your son? So before you had your son, or maybe even now, were you concerned about fertility? Was that foremost on your mind as it related to your concerns with PCOS?
Well, after getting that diagnosis and, you know, just battling with it for a very short period of time, I kind of got over it because God had called me to the convent.
Okay.
And as a religious, having a child was not a priority anyways.
Right.
And even when I came back home from the convent, I still had no desire to become a mom. I figured God would call me somewhere else, and maybe having a child would hold me back from my calling. So having a child really was not anywhere on my radar. And at the back of my mind, I always knew, I always had that nudge in my head, or it had been planted there, that you can never have children. So I'm the kind of person, carrier was spilt milk for 2 days, and that was it for me in that situation. However, when I got pregnant, I was 155 pounds. I am currently 230 pounds. Right, okay, no, 214. I lost 15 pounds, so I'm now 214 pounds. Okay, but when I got pregnant, I was 155 pounds, which means my body was now at an optimized state. My periods were regular. I was healthy, 100% healthy, and I barely had colic. It was a different body, to be quite honest. It was a different body. So when I got pregnant, that was the most shocking thing to ever happen to me. Ever. I was like, God, you're playing a prank. This kind of has to be a joke. We agreed, no kids. You told me, no kids. But you know, I guess the only way I was able to get pregnant was because my body was at that optimized state. Correct. I'm pretty sure if I got pregnant now, I'm not too sure if it would stay.
All right. So you know, at the end of your story, there is a beautiful outcome, at least.
Yes, there is.
And who knows, in the future there might be another one. I'll look back and check with you, you know, in a bit and see how that goes. But Nadège, I am so happy that you agreed to share your PCOS story with me and with the listeners of the Spill. It is something that I'm sure will generate a lot of discussion and questions.
Yeah.
And I will, of course, be willing to answer anybody's questions about PCOS. But I'm so happy you were so candid.
Of course.
And you shared with us how you did what was your journey like with PCOS. And I'm sure people listening who also have PCOS might see some similarities in their story and yours, and find some sort of comfort even in knowing that at the end of it all, here you had
a baby.
You know, so I know that might provide some sort of hope for a lot of sisters out there. So that's it. Thank you once again.
My pleasure.
And that's it for us on The Spill, episode 3, talking about PCOS. So that was episode 3 of The Spill on Women's Health Plus. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, and I know you did, make sure to share it so that your friends get to see it as well. And of course, follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook. And we just started a YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe to Women's Health Plus YouTube channel. See you guys next time on The Spill.